Time being 5:16. Oh, thanks. The time being 5:16, Monday, October 17th, 2022. I'm calling the Special Economic Development Committee meeting to order. We do have a quorum available. So the first item is approval of minutes from the 10/4/2022 meeting. Do I have any motion to approve, I guess, first?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, a second. Alder Hinkie, any additions or corrections? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on agenda item number 7 and the paragraph where it states Killian commented, after the sentence that ends in lots, would it be possible, in the public access video from about 6 minutes to 7 minutes and 30 seconds, there are some statements of significance about this topic, and I was wondering if it would be possible to fill those in the minutes. I could give a suggested statement, but I'd be open just to making sure what's in the video during that period is represented.
If you want to make a statement as to what you want in there, go for it.
I will do that then, thank you. So after that lots period, my suggestion would be under Killian stated colon or what have you, there had been a public participation process for these Thomas Street parcels, and what was reported on from that process was residents' desire for affordable single-family homes on those parcels. The reason that did not happen was because last term it was said by the city that it would take government involvement to achieve this outcome. Now what we have before us with this ARPA request is precisely what is needed to make the public's request for these Thomas Street parcels a reality, but the request of the people and the older person is being dismissed. So that would be my suggestion there. And then the second suggestion would be that there are some statistics cited about the composition of that area around those Thomas Street parcels, that shortly after 7 minutes and 30 seconds in the video, I just request those statistics be included in the minutes as well.
Okay. So is there a requirement to amend the minutes, or can we pass them with the suggestions?
I'll include in my motion to approve that we would approve them with the additional material offered by Alder Killian.
I'll keep my second.
Okay. Any other additions, corrections? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right, minutes are approved with the amendments. All right, item number 2 is discussion and possible action approving Second Amendment to East Riverfront Declaration. Director Brodek.
Sure. So the East Riverfront Declaration, you have a memo about both the Second Amendment and the Third Amendment in your packets. They were implemented when the riverfront was being developed. This Second Amendment to the Declaration just changes the assessment start date from 1/1/22 to 1/1/23. So that was the, and I believe that was at the request of one of the property owners, and we only have 2 property owners on that riverfront that are subject to those declarations right now.
All right, so does the committee have any questions? No? So I guess I would ask for a motion to approve the Second Amendment to the East Riverfront Declaration. Alder Killian, a second. Alder Lukens. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. So item number 3 is discussion and possible action approving the Third Amendment to the East Riverfront Declaration.
Yep, so this Third Amendment is basically reallocating some percentage ownership responsibility among the currently 2 property owners of the riverfront. You have a chart in your memo that's included in the packet that compares acreage, units, which is also percent of total, and and percent of the zone broken into north and south zones between the original declaration, which is referenced as D because that's Exhibit D in the Riverfront Declaration, and then D3, which is Exhibit D3 of the Third Amendment. You'll notice overall it is 0.1% change, and that is due to the Fulton Street extension. But we need to amend these percentages before River Life 2, the condos, close on November 1st.
Move to approve.
Okay. Is there a second? Alder Hinkie. Any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. On to number 4, discussion and possible action on approving the continuation of negotiations on First Amendment to the development agreement with RJ Elm Properties LLC for Banter at 1520 Elm Street, formerly referred to as 201 North 17th Avenue.
Yeah, so we will talk about this in closed session. This is agendized for closed session as long as the committee is okay going into that. But to set out the discussion, basically, we have been in negotiations with RJ Elm Properties for the First Amendment of the development agreement at 1520 Elm Street. Like I said, it was formerly agendized as 201 North 17th Avenue. It is the same project. We just wanted to be clear in terms of the public notice. And we had taken this to closed session back in June for this committee and want to provide an update in closed session about the status of negotiations at this moment.
So I guess in the interest of taking that to closed session, we'll just move on to number 5.
Yep.
Okay, so discussion and possible action on 700 grand RFP responses.
Thank you, everyone. So we have 4 great proposals in front of you. Once again, the summaries were provided for each of the projects posted on the website, and we tried to do as best we could to get those out in the community. We do have developers for each of the projects joining us on WebEx. I did want to just address a few things from last meeting to this meeting. Some of the developers provided a mix of affordable and market rate in their original proposal. We did request that they come back with 100% affordable just so we could see the finances on that. That was included in your packet for today. Since the last meeting, I get 2 additional questions I just wanted to kind of talk about a little bit more. First is on the gardens and fruit trees on the site. And UW Extension, who operates the gardens on the property, told the city this summer that they no longer had planned to utilize the site after this year. They've been working with a group and organization to have those fruit trees relocated next spring. That's the optimal time for that to take place. And additionally on parking, there was a variance in what you saw proposed. And in talking with the zoning administrator, Bill Hebert, on this project as well as some other ones when we were talking about River Life, the standard is 1.5 stalls per unit for market rate projects. But this can vary pretty widely based on the projected future zoning of planned unit development for the project. And typically, affordable housing projects require less parking stalls than market rate, just based on the occupants and what they have in their needs. So just wanted to touch base on that. And like I said, all the developers are available for you. Plan is that we'll have a discussion, you could ask questions, and then we'll go into closed session. So that's all I have for you. Thank you.
All right, so any questions for Randy or any of the developers that are on WebEx?
Do we have closed session agendized for this item as well, or just the Elm Street?
Both.
Okay.
Alder Lucas?
I have a question. I'm wondering if, so I'm wondering if I can ask Ms. Brodick a question. If, so being in District 1, I've reached out to residents and asked, and a number of them have been raised concerns about the traffic at the corner of Thomas Street and Grand Avenue. They also had questions about the trees, so thank you for that information. And also, one of the residents of District 1 donated the little libraries, so would like to see those rehomed somewhere. But, I did some, I guess, to just let residents know of the some of the issues or to address their questions regarding the traffic on that corner, because a number of them said, has a traffic study been been done. So is this time okay to ask that question? If you could speak to that at all about the, the size of the building, and, the housing units? Would you?
Sure. So I don't think that there's a traffic study that's been done to, as to whether or not we can accommodate that density on that corner. But we did talk with engineering and DPW and police and fire. We now, prior to any RFPs, and this is a relatively new process for us, we gather basically every department that could potentially touch this in some way or be affected by it. So we had all of those people, I think, in a physical room together when we first talked about issuing this RFP, and we didn't have any concerns from any of the departments about police, fire, DPW, engineering, all those kind of key ones. We haven't had any concerns about that that have been brought to our attention. I think it might be useful to also understand the additional background is this parcel was acquired because we thought we would have to do something on Grand Avenue in terms of like a street widening or something like that. That was going to be a DOT project. It's since been taken off the books, but that is why we reserved the 10 feet of right-of-way in this RFP to make sure that if any future expansion needs would be accommodated in that spacing.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since multiple proposals specifically request TIF funds, could Ms. Brodick and perhaps Ms. Grote explain, since I don't believe this property is currently in a TIF district or near the boundary proximity, how will that be facilitated roughly?
Sure. If you want me to, I can take this and then, but if you hear me misstate something, please correct me. So basically what we'd be looking at doing for this property is using the Pt.1 half-mile extension. So basically, in the TID plan that was adopted, I don't know the most recent adaptation date, but basically we're able to use TIF funds to accommodate development within a half-mile radius of that TID, and this falls within the half-mile radius of that TID. So then what we would do is use the proceeds from TID 8 and then keep this property on the tax rolls instead of putting it into a TID immediately. The other option is that we could put it in a TID and we could extend boundaries potentially by using tax-exempt properties, contiguous tax-exempt properties to facilitate it being inside of a TID. Marianne, did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that?
I think the only other thing would be that, and I think Randy brought this up at the last meeting, that we could use the 1-year extra increment for low-income housing, because we do have a couple of TIDs ready to close. And we could, because most of the developers were looking at a spring 2025 completion. Only one was summer of 2024. So, we could be in a different situation. That might give us the opportunity to just create a new TID too. Typically, low-income housing doesn't generate the property taxes necessary to actually recover the costs of the TIF ask, so we're relying on other development to basically fund that shortfall in the cash flow.
Thank you. So method 1, it could be done out of the gate currently without any significant adjustments?
I think so. Did we look at that half-mile boundary thing? I don't remember us verifying it was, you did? Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Excellent. That would be my preference. Thank you.
Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. Mine as well. I think that given the fact, though, that they are considering, depending on who we pick, either a 2024 or 2025 open, if we are able to capture a year of closed TID district increment and divert that to a project like this, that would actually be ideal. because you wouldn't be taking on additional obligations to TID8, but you'd still be able to repurpose that increment that you capture from the closed district. So if that's possible, based on the timing, I would love to see that rather than add another encumbrance on TID8, because there's a lot of areas there that are not completely developed. But so either that or a combination of that and ARPA. And what I was going to point out, which Mary Ann touched on, is that often subsidized housing projects pay property tax by law based at a rate of about 30% of what a normal project would. And so you don't generate the increment or the tax payments because you can't. Even though the project looks like everything else and it operates the same way, there are restrictions on how much those properties can be taxed and at what rate. So if we can do a hybrid, maybe either between ARPA or a closed district increment, that would be optimal. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Questions for the developers, our guests? Okay, so I guess maybe at this point we can move on to number 6. Is there anyone that's willing to read that motion for closed session? Alder Rasmussen.
I'm taking one for the team here. So I'll move that we go into closed session pursuant to Chapter 19.85, Paragraph 1, Sub E of the Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session, relating to the review and recommendation of 700 grand RFP responses and continuation of negotiations on the First Amendment to Development Agreement with RJ Elm Properties LLC at 201 North 17th Avenue.
Okay, is there a second? Alder Killian? Okay, so for a roll call vote here, Alder Rasmussen.
Aye.
Alder Henke?
Aye.
Alder Killian?
Aye.
Alder Lukens?
Aye.
And I say aye. So we'll retreat. We'll escape to closed session and we'll come back and reconvene after. Thank you.